Hello, our friends.
Hi, guys. Good to see you. Hi, Rudy. Good to see you. Good to see everybody here.
Chook, good to see you. Alice, K-Heads, Robbie, Scott, good to see you guys.
All right, you guys. It's been a very interesting day, an interesting few days. And if you hear a little chirping in the background, that's just the Easter Bunny dropped off some baby chicks from SHTF Farms. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karma Doc, for gifting us these eggs, which we've been incubating for like 22, 23 days, and now we have 8 chickens, and hopefully the last 4 will hatch too. We'll see.
We shall see. We have one that's just about out, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We've done pretty good so far.
Yeah, and it's been a mad rush building a coop, and we built 6 10-foot long raised beds today. We got done 2. So, yeah, we have a lot of things getting planted: watermelon, cantaloupe, acorn squash, spaghetti squash, tomatoes, peppers, all the usual stuff. And, yeah, we're getting ready.
Indeed, we are.
We are. And, we're organizing the house and our our supplies, our long-term supplies. We have some stuff that's packaged for like 30 years, and it's not the stuff that has all the fake stuff in it. It's just one item, for long-term storage. There's a lot of talk about a coming famine now, and it really sounds ridiculous in this day and age that there could be a famine. But it's been a perfect storm that we find ourselves in. And here we are. We're in the midst of a war that's going very, very poorly. Not that any wars go well.
I know, and it's good to see everybody. Hi, Modern Refugee, True Gemma, K-Heads, Miss Christine Loves, and Havoc. Thanks, you guys, for showing up.
Yeah, drinking my tea I made about 5 hours ago to keep me going. So, the DOJ says they're done releasing the e-files in a move sparking fresh skepticism among Americans demanding full accountability. The new acting Attorney General, Todd Blanche, or Blanchet, or I'm not sure how you say that, but he doesn't impress me at all. Not at all. Not that, Pam was impressive either. Again, where do they find these actors? But his attitude, his whole demeanor to me is very, very off-putting.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of them are. They all have this script they have to play,
Yeah, they are, absolutely. So the DOJ has now released all the files with respect to the E-saga, Blanche stated on Fox News. I think that to the extent that the E-files was a part of the past year of this Justice Department, it should not be a part of anything going forward. So you're just going to not look into things. He said something like, well, if there's a crime and we see a crime, then we'll move forward with something. But just here, feel his vibe.
Did. Now, the Epstein files, you'd agree, not handled well? And first of all, I have never heard President Trump say that the Attorney General that anything that happened to her had anything to do with the Epstein files. And so look, the Epstein files has been a saga that's lasted for the past year. And what happened when the president signed the Transparency Act is the Department of Justice has now released all the files with respect to the Epstein saga. And the Attorney General Bondi and I appeared in front of Congress voluntarily a couple weeks ago to answer any questions they had. We have made every single congressman, senator available to come and see any document, redacted, unredacted, that they want. And so I think that to the extent that the Epstein files was a part of the past year of this Justice Department, should not be a part of anything going forward. Okay, well.
Yeah, again, that's not good enough. Again, the war is partially to just distract from people waking up to what's been going on. 6 million potentially responsive pages, but published only 3.5 million. Yeah, and still, there's so many people that have stepped down. There's so many people that have kind of disappeared. They're trying to hide, and yet there's nobody actually being put on trial for anything.
No, they're just sweeping it right under the carpet. So I mean, what does that tell you? It's just like they made a big ta-da about, oh, they're going to pass laws about chemtrailing. Well, I have not seen so many chemtrails before ever. I mean, it just seems like they're plastering the skies, they're doing all the things that they said that they weren't going to do, or they passed laws against. What is this about? Is this just to push us to the brink, or is this a test to see how far can a human being be pushed before they just completely lose it? I don't know. It just feels like we're being tested in a way that just feels very uncomfortable. And how many of us can really just up and do something about it? Literally, I mean, all we really have control over is ourselves.
Our response, yeah, and not accepting, when they just want to say, okay, it was done, it's not done. It hasn't even really started. Again, when will we learn the identities of the men in the Epstein files?
Thank you. You said this is the end of the Epstein, of your review of the Epstein files. So, just to clarify, is the public going to learn the identities of the men who abused the girls with the information that you're releasing? And if not, why not? And then I have a quick follow-up.
I mean, you just baked in an assumption into your question that I have never said and I don't know to be true. Is the public going to learn about men that abuse these girls? Like, what does that mean? I mean, I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean,
if he doesn't understand what that means, he's a freaking moron. I mean, get another actor.
I know, it's just pretty horrible what he's doing. Just, and think about the victims for a minute. Think about the victims who go through this and they're watching this, and that is just like twisting the knife, because when something like this happens to you and you're not believed, or you're even worse, mocked, this really causes long-term trauma.
Yeah, I actually find him more repulsive than the last one, honestly. I find it hard to take his energy at all. He feels really like somebody that is out there protecting criminals when you know that criminals are very guilty. And yet you're sort of just, let's just ignore this. No, people will not ignore. They're banking on the fact that they're going to be able to control the narrative. But I think it's the horse is out of the stall or the barn, or that type of thing. Meanwhile, the U.S. lost an F-15 and an A-10 Warthog, and then the rescue crews going in helicopters took fire. Not going very well, is it? No, and again, there's no winners ever in war. And just look to Vietnam. What did it really accomplish? It just simply depopulated a portion of the world. Again, we sent many people over there. It ultimately did not stop a communist takeover, although arguably, when you go to Vietnam now, it's a country that is communist. But yet there's an awful lot of people that are even looking to expat there because of the cost of living and the quality of life overall. It's not like you're, in dungeons in a gulag. Dungeons and gulags exist in many different nations in different ways too, such as taxation. And we are certainly taxed. When you look to the U.S. and you look to Canada and Europe, it's just pretty ridiculous overall. The U.S. Fighter jet was downed. One pilot was rescued. There was a bounty put on the head of the other pilot by Iran, and they were trying to mobilize people to go and find them. That would be a very scary proposition, to be stuck, behind enemy lines, quote unquote. But the reality is waking up to the fact that these enemies are simply manufactured for profits and for control. And that's what people are waking up to. We don't buy the bullshit. Excuse me. There's some of us that won't buy any of it ever again. None of it. And even when we would listen to these politicians trying to sell us like the worst, used car salesmen that there are, many of us never believed it, but yet it's gone to an all new level of offensiveness and insulting intelligence, trying to convince us. I don't even think they know that they can't really convince people. They understand that they're just caught in a lie, but they're still just trying to get away with the lies.
It's just like when you watch on Peanuts when somebody's talking and they just go, want, 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 want. I mean, they're just going to keep talking and there's not going to be anything to back it up. So that makes it even more important that we do something for ourselves. It's so important that we do something for ourselves and take care of ourselves to the best of our ability and, work on community wherever we can and work on relationships with family members and friends and neighbors because it's our connection is what's going to make the difference. No one on the outside or no one that's in a position to pass any laws or any politicians, they're not going to do anything but follow what they're supposed to do. And, you have to look at the long-term part of things. It's like, well, what are they supposed to do? Well, their job is to just make sure that they have total and complete control over us at some point.
When you see the White House seeks 1.5 trillion now for the defense budget, 1.5 trillion, when he came in, when Trump came in the first time, if I'm remembering right, it was 750 billion. So it's literally doubled in like 8 years. Wow. Again, all they're doing is making profits for the military-industrial complex. And of course, that's themselves too, because most of them are invested in those companies. They take the bribes all day long, and then they set us up with these wars. People really do lose their lives. People are traumatized. Little ones are blown up left and right. Oh, because, we might get attacked at some point off in the future. There was really, truly no signs of any of that. This was, completely, again, it's an orchestration. It's so obvious. And so many people are very, very disappointed because there's tons of people putting faith, where we shouldn't put faith, which is in anything political in this world. There's no white hats. That's the thing. None of these people are white hats. They're all black hats. That's really the bottom line. So, really, you want to get rid of the black hats, the entire system has to go from head to toe. And it is crumbling, is the good news. That's the good news. The WHO is falling apart. The United Nations are falling apart. Their budgets, etc. It's all kind of collapsing. Everything is kind of collapsing all around us. So what do we do? Well, again, try to work together. Try to be as self-sufficient as you can. And what does that look like? I guess it depends on where you're living and what your plans are. I do hope everybody has plans for this time. I know you guys do. You regular listeners, followers, part of the EEARTS family. You guys know. You've known this is happening for a very long time. And so, again, we try to certainly not count on any help from the system. The system's the problem. They're the ones that bring this on us. So looking for them to be the saviors, that would really be the definition of insanity.
It would. And with the mess that we have going on, and I see Karma Dog says, hi there, new chickie parents. And yes, we are really enjoying ourselves. We're having a good time with the babies, and the pups are reacting really, really well. I mean, surprisingly well. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you so much, Miss Karma Doc. But yeah, the world that we live in, I mean, we're doing what we can to do a little bit of sustainability, and with friends and family and support from you guys, we're building up a little bit of sustainability here. But everyone, some people are in the city, and some people are anchored where they're at. Some people have to take care of their parents. Some people can't go anywhere. They're just kind of at where they're at. But there's always something you can do wherever you're at. Just keep moving forward, keep putting one foot in front of the other. And if nothing else, look at YouTube videos. I know that I see city preppers. There's city preppers, and take a look at those. What do they do? How do they do things? And how do they do their functionalities, because they're in a city. So there's a lot of things out there that can be done. And I say, and you don't want to lose life just being in fear either. You want to live. You absolutely have to live. So just prepare where you can, and also enjoy life. That's really important. And if you start getting stressed and overwhelmed with all the news, just turn on some funny kitten videos or even baby chick videos. I mean, they're just fuzzy, cute animals. You would be surprised at how much joy they can bring into your heart if you're stressed.
Oh, absolutely. Just moving the babies from the incubator to their brooder there. It's just amazing, the feeling of parental love for these little fluffy things. They're adorable. And we don't plan on eating them.
No.
Just the eggs. Just the eggs. Again, when you look at it, eggs are great protein. Whey protein is a great source as well. So think again. We're going back to the past in so many ways. I do think we're going to have a very, very disruptive few years with all sorts of chaos as the system just kind of completely collapses. Here they are spending more money. It's like a 50% increase. This is just, and what are they? This increase partly offset by steep cuts to domestic programs. Wasteful. 1.5 trillion. I mean, seriously. And then where are you going to cut it? Is again, well, education is really re-education and programming. So okay. I could see there maybe housing. We have a housing crisis as it is. Health. I would love to see them try to help people with understanding natural health and how we can use things that are provided by nature, like herbs, dietary changes. Again, making the food more nutritious. Eliminating GMOs. Eliminating the pesticides, look to, curb the pests in natural ways. There's so many things that could be done. Boost their nutritional content too, because the soil is depleted. The farming practices that we've had are not healthy. They're always profit driven. Really, we need to get rid of all governments. That kind of is the bottom line. And that will happen. I do think it will happen. Maybe not the entirety of the world, but I think there will be free zones that end up happening in different places, different pockets. What happened in America today was almost a military coup. Well, more than 30 generals refused Trump's orders for a ground invasion of Iran. So far, 12 of them have been dismissed, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I can't remember 12 generals ever being dismissed in one period of time. That is huge. You could say this is a purge. You could say maybe it is like a coup of some sort. What's happening? Again, this goes back to the Pluto return, going all the way back to February of 2022. The U.S. is going to be remade one way or another. It could be that it disintegrates from within into 3, or Cindy had seen at one time there was going to be 5 different sections. I think that was back in 2019 or 2020. She had seen the U.S. splitting up into 5 sections. It's inevitable. And what's happening now is we're watching that disintegration definitely accelerate.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. There's just so much going on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just wild. A dozen, 12 generals. That's big. Up in Toronto, you have police deploying Task Force Guardian, armed officers protecting places of worship, critical infrastructure, and downtown locations. What's happening in Canada? It's again the militarization. You cause the trouble. You cause the dissent. You bring in people from a totally different part of the world with a totally different religious persuasion. And then you have, of course, the conflict that stems from the Rothschilds ultimately and the UN's restoration of a nation that didn't exist for 1900 years. Bring it back in 1948 just in time to manifest all the end time prophecies, simply because again they're the ones that make the laws, so it's not too hard to manifest the prophecies. They also decide what nations attack other nations. Again, it's not very hard to make the prophecies come to pass when you are in control of the paradigm.
Mm-hmm. That's isn't that the truth, right?
It is. It's not no act of the creator of this universe. It just simply is the system doing what it can to bring about a certain outcome. Oh, and it's going to get really bizarre now. I mean, now we're definitely heading into the twilight zone. So here you go. Up in Canada, you're getting used to seeing, armed guards, armed military, armed police, and not too many other people are armed. It's a very similar situation in Australia, New Zealand, and in the UK. A different scenario here in the US, that's true. But here you go. It's just part of a military style global dictatorship that's emerging.
Mm-hmm. I know. I mean, it's just all, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it just seems like the military all over the world, it's expanding so much, and then pretty soon that's all that's going to be. But then they have all this AI, so really, what are they going to do with all the humans?
Robbie, I never saw it like that before. The ball.
Yeah,
ball. The ball, like two balls. I never saw it that way. That's an interesting thing. You're always coming up with fun, interesting things.
Leave it to Robbie.
Sin Havoc says, Christoph said, watch for next week. Christoph has been getting so much about, quote unquote, a Messiah. He's seeing somebody, again, that's not born like most people with a mom and a dad. Sounds like this person is somehow genetically constructed, maybe a CRISPR baby. Maybe something else. Also sounds like, he said in his, not the one from today, but the one from yesterday, that there are non-Homo sapien entities that are manipulating things behind the surface. And they're trying to make it look like a Messiah is coming. And again, we've talked about, well, what's the original take on the Messiah? Not the Christian Messiah, the Jewish Messiah. It's, again, a political person that brings about the greater Israel, which, again, includes parts of Egypt, parts of Saudi Arabia, Syria, all of Jordan, all of Lebanon, of course, Palestine, all of it, and then even parts of Iraq and a little bit of Turkey as well. It's a political and military personage. It's about here and now. It's not about afterlife redemption. No. It's about a kingdom or a dictatorship that will be run from somebody that's unusual, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I agree. Very unusual.
Yeah, so Robbie's asking about Kalki. When Cindy was looking deep into Kalki, because Kalki is the rider on the white horse also that they have equated with the second coming of Yeshua. It feels like so much of it is based on the Hindu writings, really. There are those that say that all of Judaism is like a fragmented sect of again this one group of religious authorities from the Indus Valley that broke off. But I think again there's something much bigger there. It is obvious, Abraham and Sarah as Brahma and Saravati. That's just obvious. You also have the Jewish period of mourning called sitting Shiva. Shiva is a major deity in Hinduism. So, there's so much, Israel can be broken down. Is that denoting in some way divine feminine, Isis, Ra, the sun god, and El is the Canaanite storm god? You look at it, and what we have is, in my opinion, manufactured belief systems that are just there to serve a geopolitical aim and goal.
I know. It is. They all have their own aim. It's mostly for themselves. So whatever they're doing, it's lining their pockets.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you, KK.
Thank you so much, KK. There's our beloved sister. We appreciate her so much. So, yeah, you're getting used to, in many places, we're going to get used to seeing a military police presence all the time. Starting January 1st, 2026, all men between 17 and 45 must obtain permission from a Bundeswehr career center if they plan to leave Germany for more than 3 months, whether studying abroad, work, or extended travel. This is, again, about the fact that they are planning on basically sending everybody 18 to maybe 60 off to war, to the slaughtering fields through military drafts. This is so evident. This is something that absolutely they've already laid the groundwork of in Europe, and I do think they plan on trying to draft us from everywhere.
I think so. It's just a matter of, I think it's kind of like looping in all the humans that they can and, making them go away and then replacing it with AI.
Yeah, and they are definitely hitting our numbers tonight. I could see they're really trying to suppress us a lot more lately. It seems too on EEARTS even more than evolutionary. But this is part of the cycles that we go through. If you're not promoting anything that makes the system function easier. So in other words, like if you take a side and say you're completely fundamentalist, pro-biblical, they'll love that. Now say you're totally atheist, they love that too. Or are you maybe Muslim, they'll love that. Again, as long as you identify with one of the groups that they gave, if you say, I'm none of the above, then you're a problem. You're a nonconformist. That's what they don't want. They don't want nonconformity. They want you to conform with any of the groups, any of the ideologies and identities that they've given us.
Yeah, and when you start pointing that out, that's when you really get hit.
Yeah, because again, then you really truly are a threat to the system. So yeah, I do think they're getting ready for that. And meanwhile, 89% of gas stations in France are now running out. That is not good. Actually, there's a lot of politicians really sounding the alarm in some of the more fringe countries, meaning, not USA, Israel, or Ukraine or Russia, or, again, little countries that are suffering all of a sudden now, they don't have gas, they don't have oil. What if this rolls into the winter? Then you're going to be talking a severe cost of life when people can't keep the houses warm. Meanwhile, SWAT teams surging the area near Simplot plant in Pocatello, Idaho. Active shooter reporting there. Well, we send our prayers and best intentions over that way. President Trump says mystery drones over sensitive sites aren't foreign military, right? Like he did. He likely, yeah. He doesn't think they're foreign military. And they were specifically asking about the Bossier military base with, again, housing nuclear planes. And basically what he's saying is it's somebody else, extraterrestrials, I mean, inner Earth beings. Not us, not the Chinese or the Russians, somebody else. Oh, okay.
I just love that word. Drones over sensitive areas. It's not likely. It's not likely it's anything wrong. I mean, if they're flying over these sensitive areas, I mean, why would you not want to know exactly what it is? So what are they hiding here?
They're always hiding a lot. They hide a lot more than they ever actually give us. Meanwhile, we were talking about the polar psychic. He said that the moon mission is the beginning of the...
April Fool's joke.
What's that?
The moon mission is the beginning of the big April Fool's joke on us.
Oh, yeah. Well, it started again April Fools, which again is when they changed the calendar on us, and everybody that didn't go along with the new calendar was a fool. That's where that whole thing came from. Again, they've done this more than once with changing the calendar and the times. But he said that this moon mission was going to show something that's going to become a big internet buzz, and people are going to be talking about it. And this very well may be it. NASA cuts the live feed as the Artemis 2 mission surrounded by orb-shaped UFOs. Yeah, see, who are all these guys? What are all these lights over here? Is that Elon's Starlink or what? But it was interesting because Christoph was talking about this yesterday, and it is connected to the Messiah that he sees coming. So this is what I've always thought, that what the one that we're going to call the Antichrist, the number is a human number. But it doesn't mean it's Homo sapiens sapiens. It just means humanoid. So I've always thought it's going to be, like, again, an Anunnaki coming back. Or maybe it's one of the tall whites, that Charles Hall had talked about. It will be one of them. I think it'll be one of them. But it's also, again, we're going full Star Trek, Star Wars mode now, and that's going to be the mode for the rest of our lives. It's recognizing that when they gave us the story of Star Wars, they were telling us ancient history. And you know what? We've been under the control of the Sith.
Mm-hmm. We have, so I mean, I do enjoy Christoph. He's had some really good dead ringers, when it comes to picking stuff out. So I definitely listen to him. I enjoy him. He seems very authentic. He's worked with authorities. He proves himself over and over and over. And I really do trust him. And I think it's just interesting. He believes that, this whole moon launch is going to be tied somehow to the Messiah. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes.
Yeah. Think about this too. Who's the one that talked to Abraham supposedly, or Abram back then before becoming Abraham? Yahweh. So who is Yahweh? Yeah, Yahweh's not Homo sapiens sapiens. Yahweh is that vengeful God, that warlord. Yeah, absolutely. And that fits the bill. Like a son of Yahweh is really what they are looking for as far as that Messiah for that little country there in the Middle East that has set the world ablaze. When you look, wow, okay, here we go. There are so many sightings right now. Come on, just stay there. There are so many sightings. This is Texas via Mr. MBB. There's so much. It's just busy. And lots of orbs, lots of like plasma orbs, which when we see these, a lot of times these are, higher frequency beings.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's so many orbs out now, and so many sightings. It's just going on and on and on, and it's picking up. And I really do believe that there is front row seat, and they're watching us all to a very high degree. And our our star families are showing themselves. And I don't know if you guys caught that video that Wayne did, and oh my gosh, was that a visit or was that a visit? I mean, that's contact right there. And a lot of people who start their journeys, when they start their awakening journeys, they get a lot of orbs, or they get photos of these beings or light ships in the sky. And I've had more than one person that we've worked on and awaken their light body, and they turn around and they get these light ships on their camera. And one person, she was even just taking a picture of the chemtrail, but when she looked at the picture, just a little ways up from that was this beautiful honeycomb orb light ship. I mean, it was beautiful, and this was right at the beginning of her awakening. And that's happening more and more and more. Our star families do that for us when we're going through times of stress, especially when you're going through times of stress. Your guides, your angels, they come in and they talk to you and they comfort you, and they find a way to alleviate some type of stress, but you need to talk to them. It's so important just to talk to them like we're talking now on this video. Just be very open and honest. And sometimes you might not have the nicest things to say to them, and that's okay. I mean, communication is communication.
This is much brighter than what I investigated when I was with Eastern States Paranormal Society, which was a group of soldiers from Fort Jackson, South Carolina. We had this one case that we were brought in to investigate, and it was like the ghost of a little boy that had passed on, and there was lights and sounds, noises in the house, and it was the little boy's ghost that was still going in his room and playing with his things. You would have all of a sudden little cars and stuff move. It was pretty wild. Again, there's going to be a lot of fakes coming out now, but it doesn't detract from the real ones. I really think sometimes people make fake videos to detract and debunk everything. But the reality is, there's all sorts of different dimensions. There's always beings around us all the time. You have other beings walking through you every day. That's just normal.
And so to answer Zeno Morfett, what are your thoughts of talking out loud versus internal? I have better luck talking out loud, but I'm not always in that position where I can talk out loud. A lot of times I'm just laying in bed and I don't want to wake up Mike. So I sit there and I talk to them in my head, but I do prefer out loud. I think it brings a stronger vibration, and I think it just brings more intention to the universe. And there might be other beings out there that also hear you. So you can do both. You can absolutely do both, but I think talking is more effective.
Mm-hmm. Diana, I did see where you had sent us the video of the orbs in the house. I forgot to pull it up. It would have been perfect to go with this, but we could do that on another one as well. I think people are having a lot of encounters. How about, crop circles and stuff? Again, a lot of times you see orbs of light around where crop circles form, because again, they're messages typically. If they're not hoaxes, they're messages, communications. And somebody else had talked about telepathic. Yeah, I mean, again, most communication out there is telepathic. It is. That's like our normal state. So again, the way humans have been brought up in this world is not normal. We have been abnormal.
Very abnormal, yeah.
Absolutely. So it's a farmer's field there. I don't know if they had speeded this up or what, but that's kind of cool. But as you can see, there's more in Dallas, Texas. Sometimes it's very hard to tell whether it's like one bigger object or if it's a variety of objects. But there you go. You can see everybody filming. Again, this was predicted to happen in these times because they understand what we're going through. They could see what's happening. They know the manipulation. and the things that the military-industrial complex does to us, the system, they understand, and many of them do sympathize with us and really want to kind of encourage us and tell us, keep your chin up.
I believe so. You know, with all the sightings that I've seen, to me, it just speaks very clearly that they're speaking.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They are communicating to us. Now, this is Houston, so, Texas is a real hot spot. Texas is big. Obviously, it's the biggest state besides Alaska, and it has way more people than Alaska does. A lot of sightings up in Texas, but I also wonder is there something planned for Texas? Because, again, a lot of times you'll have sightings and things happening. Look at the Mothman, right? You guys remember the Mothman prophecies? That was all about a bridge that's going to collapse and a lot of people are going to lose their life. And, here it was showing itself. It was trying to get people's attention. I guess it didn't know how to tell people what was going to happen.
Yeah, he wasn't very good with his words, I guess. Yeah, poor guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I wonder if there's big events planned for Texas. And this is in Ohio. Chadron, Ohio. Strange lights.
That's great. It's back. Oh yeah.
Transformer, maybe?
Just recorded this shit coming out and off for like 20 miles. Holy shit. From Northeast Ohio, this is Hamden Township. Facing north towards Lake Erie. I'm about 12 miles away. Ooh, the red oranges, all of it. Oh man, I'm getting rained on. Oh, I love it. This is awesome. You want a side view? Dude, this is cool. I didn't even know this was.
Yeah, the color reminds me of when Transformers go.
So she's right next to it now.
What?
She says I'm right next to it now, right there. See?
Oh, okay. So you could see this. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot going on. Oh wow, this one. This one is a weird one. Watch this. I don't know if somebody did a little CGI. It doesn't really look like it. But there is a pretty spooky looking face that develops in the storm here. Again, there are elemental beings. There are beings, conscious beings up in the clouds. There's elemental beings everywhere. Look at that face.
I know. I was looking at that. That is such an ominous. Yeah, this is a yucky face. This is like a zombie face. I saw that face and it just, it was just gross.
Istanbul. Yeah, Istanbul. This is Turkey, a very, very big city. Very interesting to say the least. It's like nature's talking to us, and all the beings that take care of nature are talking to us. That's a creepy looking face, that's for sure. And here, this is in Brazil. Again, more lights. There's been just so much. You can't keep up with it all. Seriously, it's like every minute there's more sightings coming. But it's just part of where we are at this time. You're really having a huge disclosure. I kind of feel like we'll have a big revelation over there around harvest time, around maybe September, October especially. But I think there's going to be a lot of big events going on. Christoph is getting amazing things, crazy things. He's really focusing in a lot lately on some Messiah type of figure. And he did say, too, about that Messiah, it's about us giving away our will. It's about us accepting slavery willfully. This is what I've always known is their ultimate goal. as people wake up, they're betting that they'll get a group to willingly go as slaves. It's just like that. Outer Limits. Don't get on the first ships. It's a human cookbook.
Well, it seems like so many people are giving up their will right now. They're giving away their power to so many different things, and you definitely don't want to do that. You want to keep that power is yours. That power is yours to manifest with, and it's always nice to do nice and good things for other people, but when it comes to other entities wanting you to do things for them, specifically for them, that kind of gives me the willies there.
This was in Colombia, and there's like this, I wouldn't say necessarily it's an orb, it's roundish, but it seems to be more mechanical, more substantive. You can see the energy glowing around it, comes out of the ocean. This was also something that I believe Christoph had seen, or I forget if it was him or Isabella, but I think it might have been Isabella, said that we're going to have disclosure later this year about beings coming out of the oceans. They've always been in the oceans. There's cities under there. When you look at Google Earth sometimes and you see straight lines, I think you're really looking at their cities. There are their cities, which can be completely domed and encapsulated, or maybe they have the ability to literally breathe underwater. Maybe they're kind of amphibious, when you think about it.
Oh, sure could be. Yep.
Here's another one. This is Chula Vista, California, down by San Diego. So, yeah, it's just everywhere you look. This one of the most exciting years to be alive. Now we just got to dodge the bullets of WW3. I do think, again, that it's not showing any signs of letting up. Iran said there's just no progress with the talks. Trump keeps saying there's progress. And Iran says there's no progress.
I know. It's like back and forth.
Yeah, and Sin Havoc's talking about the second Sphinx. Yeah, second and possibly even a third. Vina Lynn, how to undo baptism? Is there a recipe? What I would say is, and I did this, I just basically said I cut ties with any and all entities I unknowingly went into a relationship with when I, joined the church, got baptized, what have you, all the prayers and everything. When you start to realize, again, the history of the church, and you understand the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of deaths that, again, were due to religious wars, it's like you get to that point and you're like, wow, I don't really want to be connected to that. And we do develop energetic ties, and you create these streams of energy when you're saying certain prayers. Like in the Catholic Church, it's just the same prayers over and over and over again. I was brought up Catholic. Then we started going to a Baptist church, and then I went to like everything and anything, and then went outside of the church. And I've gone to a Jewish synagogue. I've gone to Hindu temples, Buddhist as well, pagan ceremonies, and down every road I possibly could. But yeah, you just make a statement saying that you're cutting all energetic ties with the past connections that you may have created without understanding what those connections really were.
I think that's more than fair, and definitely something to call in higher self, to talk to higher self about that one, and you unknowingly doing what you did and correcting that, helping you correct that.
Yeah, again, I do think there's going to be an escalation. We have Easter Sunday, right? Easter Sunday's coming up. And it seems that the astrology has been very challenging until the 12th.
Yeah.
I think the 12th it shifts.
I think so. I think it was around the 12th. So just be very mindful, and relationships could be a little bit difficult too. So
Yeah, and then it feels like April's really challenging, especially the first half maybe. And then it feels like August. To me, I think August is going to be a huge month. It's going to be one of the bigger months of this year. And, again, looking at the astrology, looking at the eclipses.
oh my gosh, in the comments, all of this stuff has influence on us. So just, be very kind to yourself and keep that in mind, that there's external influences on you, and there's so much technology out there. Let's just talk about that for a minute. So a lot of times, if you might be having really bad thoughts or feelings, bad emotions, these can be coming from frequencies. It could be coming from your phone, your computer. It could be coming from, a frequency meter that you just walked by outside. In some cases, yeah, it could be coming from another person. But especially if you're really having a hard time in your mind, then just know that those thoughts, probably are not yours. And you can do things like take a shower, take a salt bath. There's a lot you can do to get those frequencies and get your body grounded, and just go outside, maybe meditate, get your feet into the earth. Stand in front of the sunshine. That's very, very cleansing, especially the early morning sunshine.
Yes, absolutely. NASA Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar Mitchell, sixth man to quote-unquote walk on the moon, that's what they say, says UFOs and aliens are real. Yes, there have been ET visitations, there's been crash craft, there's been material and bodies recovered. It's been covered up for decades now. Again, when you look at the Stanley Kubrick moon thing there, is it real or is it not real? Well, again, I think that, they faked it. But does that mean we can't leave Earth? Is there a concrete dome, a metal dome over our heads? I think there's a technology dome. That's what there is. There's a natural, again, think of cells, as above, so below, as within, so without. That is the truth. And so, you have many cells in your body. They are separate from one another by a cellular membrane, which is semi-permeable. Some things can make it in and out, other things can't. It just depends on the viscosity and the size, relatively speaking. So I look to that as a truth. But ultimately, space is like an ocean. It's not devoid of life. So the concept of a space being a vacuum and it's a nothingness, well, I mean, we know that's not true. There's literally bacteria out there. When you also, let's just jump over to this. When you look at stars, this is serious. Why does it look just like when you look in the water? Like if you're in a pool and you're looking up at the lights in the pool, it looks just like this. Because again, it's not a vacuum. It's more of an ocean. So who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Well, it's not us. That's SpongeBob. But we do live under the sea, so to speak.
Yeah, just in a different way.
And then you'll have people say, well, those aren't stars. They're luminaries. Well, that just means they're giving off light. You really haven't described anything yet. Oh, well, those are Nephilim or they're fallen angels. Okay, but the original translation for angel is messenger. So they're messengers that aren't doing their proper job. Is that what you're saying? Or they got fired or it's again, how do you define something? So yes, this is a luminary. This is giving off light. Is it a conscious entity? Absolutely. It is a conscious entity.
Oh gosh, there's so much intelligence there. It's just unreal.
And just like you are a universe. There's like trillions of things living in you. That's just a fact. You're a universe. It's written, ye are gods. Yeah, absolutely. All these beings that came and, we worshiped them, again, giving our power away. None of them are the creator in its entirety, but then the creator couldn't really be isolated to just being in one tiny little body. That's also impossible. But the Creator can reside in all of us and does.
Indeed.
Yeah, so it's part of the bigger picture. Again, so many misconceptions. You know, I'm not crazy about Dr. Stephen Greer and his, I don't know, his energy, I guess. Yet, obviously there are some things that he's given us that I think are true, and it's not like I dislike him either. He says there's a secret war between advanced civilizations and humans that's been going on, with humans as the bad guys. He says Earth has been visited by non-hostile advanced civilizations, that humans are the ones hostile to them. Yeah, I would agree, but that's because really we've been subservient to these other beings that came here and took us over in the first place. They took over the planet. They invaded and literally took it over. The alien invasion was thousands and thousands of years ago. He says Matt Gaetz is correct about a secret hybrid breeding program between aliens and humans. The goal of combining DNA, that's always going on. Always. It's there. This is where you get minotaurs and centaurs and all these different hybrids. This has always been going on. They're always creating new species. We have downed at least 1,000 or more of their spacecraft, and we've captured bodies, some living and some dead. Yeah, and again, when you look to our military, some of our military work hand in hand with Greys and reptilians. That's just the bottom line, and it's true. So in other words, we were conquered, to put it in Star Wars terminology. The Empire came here, and the Empire took over. And we have been under the dominion of, again, the Dark Lord of the Sith. Think Palpatine, Palpatine, Senator Palpatine, oh, he's a good guy. He's going to take temporary powers and give them right back. Yeah, that never happens. Once they have power, they'll never give it back, and they'll just look to keep expanding their power. But yeah, we find ourselves, we've woken up here, we've taken, the wool away from our eyes. Maybe we took the bag off our head, and it's kind of it could be a scary reality to realize there's a lot of other beings around us too. In fact, this is a refugee planet. So is Nibiru, even though Nibiru is more of a mothership now than a viable planet per se, because of the choices of those that have been on it. Again, it's all about our choices, and getting in harmony with Mother Nature is really one of the best things we could do.
I know, and in this case, when this poor creature takes his mask off, everybody's going to realize he looks just like them.
Yeah, that's the big reveal. Wait a minute. The aliens look like us. That's because we are the aliens. Every one of us.
Poor baby. So are we going to do a ding? Okay, so I want to say a big thank you to Miss KK for helping us out tonight with tonight's video. And we're going to do some dings, you guys. So find a happy place. Here we go.
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. May all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may my thoughts, words, acts, and deeds all contribute to their freedom and happiness. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you are subscribed to all 3 channels. Once we get a little caught up with things, we'll be back to putting out more videos like we usually do. It's just been challenging getting ready, but we appreciate you guys. Much love.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.